Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be fucked up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Put chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis. So this is kind of an experimental episode for Occultae Veritatis. And the host had a talk and basically decided that it'd be a good idea to put a disclaimer at the front of these episodes. So, the hosts don't really believe in witchcraft. We don't believe that there's forces out there that you can control with spells and rituals and stuff like that. I don't believe that you can block evil with an incantation, but witchcraft nonetheless is a growing subculture in the modern world, and I think it is valuable to learn about where these people are coming from. Now, it doesn't mean you have to believe what they believe. It doesn't mean you have to play along. But, just as with any other religion or subculture, I think it's valuable to take a peek within and see what the people inside are doing and why they are doing it. So, with that, here is Witchcraft. Welcome to Occultae Veritatis. I am Ood Gallifrey.
Sudbury.
Richard Bigley.
And in studio with us,
Squishy. Sprout.
And Arthur Dallas.
It's Full House.
We're going into Witchcraft with two real, living, breathing you guys still breathe?
Mostly.
Okay,
I just forgot to breathe.
So before we get into this magical goodness, we need a little bit of poison.
Poison.
So, what's your poison?
We have today lavish vodka cocktail. It is imported and it says classic. And how did we obtain this? Is there a story behind that? Or
yeah.
No?
My friend that I made up at work, who is with a geotech company, and he's a power engineer, he took me on a helicopter ride. And then he went to Amsterdam and sent me this shit. So now we're drinking it.
Woo-hoo. I've been to Amsterdam, and by the amount of weed you have seen me or heard me smoke on this podcast, you would be surprised to know that I did not smoke any when I was in Amsterdam.
It smells like a Red Bull kind of thing.
I took a free chocolate from a shop, and I was strongly 15, and I looked strongly 15. My beard was not coming in nicely, and he gave me a chocolate, and I was a high boy.
A high boy
in Amsterdam.
Yes, I walked by
They were giving away free chocolate.
Yes, I got high as fuck from it.
You gotta watch out for those people giving away their THC gummies in Halloween candy. No one's giving away THC gummies.
No one cares about your children to give them that much to give them their drugs.
Oh, really?
We want our own drugs.
Really? It's gonna help your kids sleep.
I should actually explain.
I'm gonna complain after going trick or treating. I'm gonna start complaining and just be like, "Where's my fucking edibles? Like, fucking everybody promised me edibles and I got nothing. Now I feel sick because I ate like 18,000 chocolate bars.
I was promised this was going to be laced, and it's not.
It is not laced. I want my fucking money back. That's how that works. But
this tastes like vodka and Red Bull.
This is just vodka and Red Bull.
I'm super into it.
Okay, are we doing this together?
I already had it.
Oh.
And I'm
Yeah,
also
we're into
drinking
it.
this whole can because I'm selfish.
It's vodka and Red Bull.
That's what it tastes like.
It does. Oh, that sounds super dangerous.
It's just vodka. And
Yeah. Can I have a? Okay, I don't.
My
By the way, that's the only reason I took the chocolate, because I thought he was definitely fucking with me. Well,
I
like when he
could
said it was a
drink that
special
if
chocolate,
I drank.
I never thought in a million years it'd actually be it.
Lavish
Hello.
Classic is an imported ready-to-drink
anyone
vodka
hear me?
cocktail.
No, I can't hear you.
I'm dead,
made with
guys.
triple
What's
distilled
going on?
and filtered vodka with a lightly carbonated citrus.
This reminds me of not good. Well, good nights, but ones that I don't remember.
Oh, it makes you feel nice and warm inside.
I like it.
Do they? I'm just checking here to see if there was some
It says
sort
nothing about ingredients.
Have a
It says
taste.
it has a
There
light
is
citrus
nothing
blend.
about ingredients on here
On the
at
front,
all.
it says caramel color. Carbonation and caramel color added.
We made
made
it
from
darker, or we made it bubbly.
triple distilled and triple filtered vodka with a lightly
Can you give one
carbonated
to Ood?
citrus blend. And that's all we got here. There's no ingredients. It doesn't say anything about it being an energy drink.
It
or
does come
any-
from Chino Hills,
yeah,
which
so
sounds vaguely racist to me.
So is
drink
it
lavish,
an energy
drink
drink?
responsibly.
No.
If I ran,
It tastes like an energy drink, but it's like it doesn't say energy drink anywhere. It just says serve chilled, contains vodka.
I'm on their website.
if I run vodka 3 times through a Brita filter, can I call my vodka triple filter?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
They did that once. There was some thing where they ran cheap vodka through like Brita filters like 3 or 4 times, and it tasted like high-end vodka by the end of it. But when you factor in the cost of the Brita filter, you may as well just buy the high-end vodka because it's a lot cheaper and perhaps more environmentally friendly.
Okay, this is what it says. The classic lavish vodka cocktail is a lush combination of triple filtered and distilled premium vodka with the world-renowned standard energy drink flavor. This recipe for success has been a #1 party drink since the 90s, packaged in a luxurious 355 milliliter matte black can with elegant silver accents.
It's just
it's
a
not an
can.
energy drink. It's actually energy
drink
flavor. So I
is
can
what it
think I'm
says.
drinking a vodka Rockstar, but in reality, I'm watching my calories and my heart rate
Yep.
because I'm old.
Well, just
Yeah.
like caramel color.
Made
like,
in
no
Austria,
caramel, just
though.
the color.
It's made in Austria.
You think your can is luxurious just because it's long and thin? What's the matter with short, fat cans?
I couldn't.
They're
It's like a
just-
chode
They're
or
just
what?
fine too.
I need a chode can. I want my chode to be, or I want my can to be a chode. This little short.
You
but fat
want
thing,
it to be you want it to be wider than it is long.
That's
what
right.
the
There
Like a
you
tuna
go.
can.
Are we doing
Like
this?
a tuna can.
Are we doing this together? Title of your sex tape. Can you give one to Ood? Title of Ood's sex tape.
Love it.
I'm gonna give this a. This is actually really good. It reminds me of a Red Bull and vodka.
That's
That's
what
like-
I've been saying for the
Like
last.
this is all it is. That's what it is. But it's not even Red Bull. It's Red Bull flavor.
Have you not
so.
been paying attention?
When I was an edgy little fuck, that's what I ordered at the bar all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Nostalgia's winning me over. 7 out of 10.
The taste of Red Bull reminds me of Jaeger bombs.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeg bombs.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jaeger
With-
bombs.
with the
Yeah.
drop shot. And
Yeah, but
we did that all the time when I was a bar star.
but now that or like in Canada, you can't serve like energy or you can't sell energy drinks and
Mix.
energy mix, but you can't even sell like the shot already in there. But when I was in Europe, they would the shot would already be in the cup, and you would just and they'd walk around with usually Jaeger bombs. Like not anything else that were on trays that they were walking around with. Jaeger bombs, always in Europe.
I probably give it a 6. I like Red Bulls. I like the flavor. But I'm with Sprout on it. I definitely want the other drug.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I'm super into this.
This gets a 4 out of 10 for me. You've taken the worst part of an energy drink and the worst part of hard liquor, and you put them together in a can and call it luxurious.
This,
or lavish.
Yeah.
Lavish.
This gets 4 out of. This is why I take other drugs to go to bars.
There you go.
Just because you have a big, fancy, long black can. I mean, come on now.
Big fancy
black
long
can.
black can.
Sounds like a mistake out of slightly nostalgic as far as rating for what you're all saying.
We've all watched those can videos on the internet. Let's be
Oh, and
honest.
Ood, yes. Who does love a big, long black can.
Oh, no, the jar.
Oh.
I will never
I don't know.
unsee the jar.
Wow, they're getting really personal in the Discord here.
Depends on the vending,
if you want to,
depends on the vending machine holding it.
You can join the Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you too can listen to our live recordings and interact with all these hosts live on the Discord.
And by interact, we actually mean make fun of constantly while speaking.
Yeah.
And hear all our mess ups and flubs.
Home addresses. And
I apologized.
Please yell at us if we say something
you didn't
stupid.
even bring an episode.
I know.
You out where you dox me.
Yeah, I 100% doxed you, and I didn't get my
And you
my
didn't
shit
even bring an
together.
episode.
I know.
Sage Murray, just here to cause shit.
Yeah. That's the name of my sex tape.
And make a new girlfriend, apparently.
Yeah, and make a new girlfriend.
Witches have always been somewhat feminist. We have been fighting for the right to be treated correctly.
The word alone immediately conjures up certain images in our minds. But what does it really mean to be a witch today? Salem, Massachusetts, a place known for trying and executing accused witches, is now affectionately called Witch City. And it seems that a growing number of young women and some men are being drawn to a brand of witchcraft. And it's political.
I use the term witch to describe myself. I usually cite the acronym Woman in Total Control of Herself. I am the owner of House Witch, Home and Healing in Salem, Massachusetts. I practice witchcraft. I pull tarot cards. I have crystals everywhere. I make shrines. I cast spells. I meditate. But it's sort of a political distinction, and I think it speaks to my radical feminism.
Both male and female witches are studying the craft under a longtime Salem witch and clairvoyant, Lorelei. You'll notice a significant difference in how the more traditional witches look and practice.
I'm what you call a natural witch. I started at about 12. My mother practiced. The thing about the new word feminist, it's a great thing, but it's something that we've been doing for years. So we're maybe a little different than the younger generation. We may not be as hardcore. I still want a gentleman to open the door for me. And being the man, maybe you always have romance, lust, and trust, so motivate. A spell basically is a prayer to the universe. We have chalices full of water. We have candles, something that represents the god, the goddess, just like you pray in church.
After the election, especially, I think what the witch is good for is being a force of divine feminine power. And witches are what men like Donald Trump are afraid of. So it's like this perfect symbol.
Around Erica's store has formed a coven made up of astrologists, Reiki masters, and healers, including Erica's fiancée, Melissa, who does Salem witch tours with a feminist focus.
A few deep breaths.
This isn't your grandmother's coven. It's youthful, light, and trendy. Though some are embracing the word, the term witch has been used to ignite fear and shame. The Salem witch trials of colonial Massachusetts started just when Europe's so-called witch craze was beginning to wind down. A combination of limited resources, of family rivalries, and extremely strict religious practices set the foundation for Puritans to blame the devil and quote-unquote devil worshippers for their problems. And more than 200 people, mostly widows or women with bad reputations, were accused of being witches, and 20 were executed. It wasn't until early 20th century that women's magazines started portraying witches as beautiful and desirable. This trend continued with the success of the TV show Bewitched in the 60s. The 60s also brought us a feminist group, Women's International Terrorist Conspiracy from Hell, or WITCH, who protested patriarchy by carrying out witch-themed political stunts. In 1985, Wicca, an offshoot of witchcraft, was recognized as a religion by the United States. In recent years, we've seen witches and non-witches publicly reclaiming the title.
The powerful are scared of this figure who has traditionally been pretty powerless, but now that's not the case.
Whether it's Trump or just, all these sexual assault cases, do you think that actually ends up creating more witches?
Totally. The Me Too movement, that's what you're seeing. It's dark, it feels bad, and now this is the only way that we're gonna start to heal it, is by, ripping this Band-Aid off and all coming together. And to me, that sounds like a coven of witches.
As young people become less religious in this country, witches like Lorelei and Erica continue to see their covens grow.
I love that witchcraft is getting big. I don't really make the distinction between like somebody who's like just doing it on social media and then somebody who's like a real practitioner, because I think that at any point in time those two can switch. To people who don't think that it's real feminism or real witchcraft, I would say, like, who made you in charge of what is feminism and what is witchcraft?
What about?
So when you think of witchcraft, you think booga witches, spooky, scary, children-eating, green-faced, hooked nose with warts and the pointy hat.
I think it's
square
Sabrina.
toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Square toes?
Yeah, roll doll witches, square toes.
Oh.
Yep.
They can perfectly fit their
But
toes into like sugar cube.
But
Sugar
they
cube tower.
But they have to. But they wear pointed shoes. So, but when they all get together, they all take off their pointed shoes and turn
Square
children into
toes.
mice.
Do they take their pointed shoes off because they don't want to like leave mud on the carpet, or what was?
They take it off to free their bloody square toes.
Okay, I see.
Evie thinks, I think cute goth lesbians, but go off, I guess.
Well, like, some people would ask, why are we talking about witchcraft? I think that it's an oddly popular element of today's society, and it's been an oddly popular element of society throughout history. And the strange thing about witchcraft is every time you look at it sprouting about in human history, you find it at the point of protest and the point of progressive or women's rights being fought for.
Yeah.
A lot of what witches in classical literature are being demonized for are things that go against the patriarchy.
Feminist ideologies.
Yes. Witches are said to spoil wombs and ruin pregnancies, taking away children.
Cut off people's dicks and keep them as familiar.
Yeah, that's actually in the Maleficarum.
Yeah.
Yep.
They spoil crops, which not only angers the patriarchy, but also angers any capitalist class, any ruling class.
Mm-hmm.
Those crops aren't being harvested. We're losing money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going against the main structure. Also witches stealing children, like having curses, causing mayhem, killing virgins who are seen as unchaste women that are yet to be mothers. It's seen as back then it was seen as a waste to lose them. Like, witches
they were fornicating with the devil, and
Me too.
they've been at the center of kind of a background women's rights movements for a long time, because let's not quell words. Witches throughout history were mostly defiant women who went against popular culture of the time and were persecuted for it.
To start off, let's talk about where it kind of all stemmed from. You have these pagans who they were agriculturists. They relied on the times of the year for their harvest. And then you had the Catholic movement coming in. And they were like, hey, here's this new religion. Oh, well, we want to try and convert these pagans to our religion. So let's put our holidays near theirs for convenience sake. Let's make things very close to what they have in order to convert them. And then once they're converted, we can dramatically change our ideology to fit and to kind of
co-opt those beliefs.
Yes, yeah.
And it seems like Scientology doesn't have a new strategy. They're using an old one.
Yeah. And to really push back on the pagans and attribute them to the ultimate enemy of God, which is the devil. Witches were pagans, essentially, who didn't want to convert. And if you didn't want to convert, you were the ultimate evil and comparable to the devil.
And by pagan, we mean generally earth-based religions.
Yeah. Those agriculturists who would celebrate, nature and its seasons and changes and the spirituality of that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andrea Campbell. I'm a professor of media studies at St. Thomas University in Miami, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about some media research I'm doing. One of the interesting things I'm looking at now is representations of witchcraft in film and television and how that relates to feminist theory. Basically, the idea behind what I'm looking at is that the changing representation of witchcraft, which is really powerful women and women's unique forms of power, how that's changed over time and how that change really represents the changing roles of women in society. If we look back in the 1960s and early 70s, which was really the sexual revolution, women were starting to come into power, we see a lot of television and movies with representations of magical women. Two that immediately spring to mind are I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched. If we look at these, we see these very powerful women whose power has to be contained by society and masculinity. In I Dream of Jeannie, it's so obvious. Major Nelson, the icon of the United States, he's a member of NASA, he has this powerful magical woman and he literally contains her in a bottle. When we look at Bewitched, what we see is a very powerful and intelligent woman being contained by middle-class culture. It's very important to both Samantha and her husband that she does not use her powers for any kind of domestic ability, doing anything in the house. She must do things like a real American woman. Here's a clip that explains what I'm talking about.
I love you and I can't give you up.
Darling, I'll be the best wife a man ever had.
I know you will. We're going to have a nice, normal, happy life together and no more...
No, I promise.
It's not going to be easy. It's tough enough being married to an advertising man if you're normal, but... I mean, you're going to have to learn to be a suburban housewife.
I'll learn. You'll see. I'll learn.
Now, you'll have to learn to cook, and keep house, and go to my mother's house for dinner every Friday night.
Darling, it sounds wonderful. And soon we'll be a normal, happy couple with no problems, just like everybody else.
Fast forward to modern day, and we actually see a very different representation of magical women. A very, very popular television series was Charmed, the story of three witch sisters learning how to use their power. Rather than being contained, what we see is focus is on learning. These powers are important, and they should be used, but they need to be learned how to use properly. In this clip from one of the first episodes, we see the traditional approach. The father tries to contain and protect the children, his girls, from their power.
I'm here to protect you.
Yeah, right. To protect us from what?
From yourselves. That's why I want that damn book. It's where the power of three started, and it's where it must end.
But it's part of us. It's part of who we are.
I never wanted you to have those powers in the first place. I battled with your grandmother after your mom died. All I want is what's best for you.
And in fact, they use their power to save him, and he acknowledges the significance of their power.
I thought you didn't want us to use our magic.
I didn't. Not as long as I still thought of you as my little girls. But you're obviously not anymore.
We're still your little girls. We're just witches.
Yeah. Witches. Who obviously don't need your old man to protect you from anything.
In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we see all kinds of magical women. Of course, there's Buffy, who uses magic, mystical powers from the ancients to destroy vampires and save the world repeatedly. But we also have a witch in the show. We've got Willow, Buffy's friend, who over the course of the show learns how to use her magic powers. In this very humorous clip from the musical, Once More with Feeling, we see Xander acknowledge the power and significance of these witch women.
It could be witches, some evil witches, which is ridiculous because witches, they were persecuted, wicked, good, and love the earth and women power, and I'll be over here.
So what we see is the changing roles of women in American society being represented in the media of American society. If you look at witchcraft and magical powers as a sign of women's powers and their special abilities, we see the focus shifting from containment to learning how to use their powers to help society, to further society, to protect society. Things to think about when you're watching film and television.
So I think this is a good proving ground to kind of introduce witchcraft. It's to know some of the nomenclature and some of the language used within its practice. I was delivering food all day today, and in between deliveries, I was looking up definitions of witchcraft. So if you've seen a crazed man at the side of the road, madly taking notes while squinting at his cell phone, that was me. So let's go through some definitions. So magic with a C versus magic with a K. So magic with a C is mostly seen as magic you would see in Hollywood or Las Vegas or on TV.
Razzmatazz.
Yeah.
It's an illusion, Michael.
Yes. Yeah, but like magic that's not true magic but is sleight of hand. Like there is a trick behind the scenes. There is some kind of thing being done to cause those effects.
A very mundane thing to cause a magical illusion.
Yeah. Magic with a K is more practiced magic. So magic that isn't shown on stage and isn't made to make money or be in a TV show, but to be a practice in everyday lives of people and pagans and Wiccans out there. Magic with a K was also created in the 19th century by Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And
Daddy Alistair.
Because he wanted to separate his practice away from the Harry Houdinis at the time. Like he's not doing stage magic for like coin. He's not doing stage magic to entertain people. He's trying to change the world.
By fucking.
Yes. We will. Don't worry. We will get to the great rite soon enough. High versus low magic. So low magic, you can kind of tell what it is by its other labels: folk magic or farmer magic. So low magic was magic done in the lives of everyday people. So farmers wanted fields to produce more. That's the kind of magic they would practice. Things that could solve problems in the lives of peasants in a medieval world.
Low magic was also very, it wasn't very as ceremonial and over the top. It was very, I have this intent, I'm going to put it into this, done. It's less theatrical.
It's more of like saying saying a, like a little rhyme as you make your tea in the morning.
Yeah.
To wish prosperity over prosperity over the rest of your day, kind of thing.
Would that also kind of go into the where they're using herbs and like low level remedies for people, where that was seen as magic at the time because you're rubbing plant onto wound and it gets better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Practical.
Again, that nature, going to nature, respecting it, utilizing it, and thanking it as well. Like it goes into a lot of the indigenous ways of knowing as well, where they have this relationship with nature and space and all of that.
High magic was really, it came about in like feudal Britain, Europe, where people in the aristocracy, people who had lots of money and lots of privilege and high status in society, they didn't need magic to solve common problems. They didn't need magic to make crops grow. They can buy food. They're going to be just fine.
What is with your witchcraft lights? Speaking of witchcraft.
Yeah.
that was directed at me.
Yeah.
What witchcraft lights?
They keep like turning on and off.
I don't know. They're like fluorescents, and fluorescent ballasts are always kind of shitty.
So there's ghosts in your house.
They just kind of turn on and off because the ballasts are all fucked, and that's what they do.
I just want to say good night,
That and
Evie.
ghosts.
Good night, Evie.
Good night,
Good night,
Evie.
Good night. Hello, Arthur.
Make
Hello,
good
Arthur.
choices.
Hi. High magic was the magic of priests and kings and mages, the highest parts of society. They weren't trying to solve basic needs. They were trying to change the direction of wars, the actions of an entire society. They tried to cast wide magic on wide swaths of areas that the peasants didn't worry about because the peasants were just trying to eat and survive.
Gerald Gardner.
And in more modern times, we look at high magic as very ceremonial, very practiced. You have to look at the moon phases, planetary times, what phase the moon is, and where exactly in the sky it is, where it is in Taurus, where it is in Gemini, and correspondences with certain herbs you get. So you still had a little bit of that pagan peasant action in it with the herbs and spices, resins that they would use, but it was more used in a more theatrical way to impress the kings. And
if you're familiar with D&D, it's like the
sorcerers versus
it's like wizards versus mages.
Yeah.
While wizards, they have to have their they have to hold their hand correct while casting a spell and to the phase of the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
And then versus a mage is just boobly boobly and then
boobly boobly.
I don't know.
That's actually a good lead way into chaos magic, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about. So it's hard to define the indefinable. Chaos magic is the total rejection of any rules or structures. It is basically, if it feels good and it feels right and it feels like you can pump some passion and energy into it,
and
do
semen.
it. Yeah.
Reaching gnosis through masturbation is the best way to reach gnosis.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to juggle goldfish while singing the national anthem, it's casting a spell. If that feels right, do it. That's chaos magic.
In my opinion, chaos magic is one of the most pure forms of magic because that intent is there, that childlike demeanor is there, and that passion and fun. And you want magic to be fun. You want to raise that energy. The more energy you have, the more effective your spell is going to be. When I was doing one ritual, we were saying goodbye to all the spirits we had called in the ritual, and we kind of let loose bubble wands, and we were blowing the bubble wands, and as the bubbles floated away, we imagined, whatever it was floating away, and when it popped, they were gone. And
Chaos magic is what helped me to let somebody's grandfather go, because they thought their grandfather was following them and with them, and their grandfather was Jewish. And so, to the best of my ability, and very poorly, I recited a Jewish funeral hymn. And guess what? I believed fully with my heart that worked, and it bloody well did.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people seem to think that chaos magic is just about sigils. They think that's all chaos magicians do. And that's not really true. I mean, many do use sigils, but there's much more to it than that. Some people also think that it's bad somehow or dangerous. I guess they think chaos is a bad thing, and if you use the word chaos in your practices, you must be up to something bad. And of course that's not true. I think most sensible people would guess that's not true, but some people do still believe that. The thing about chaos magic is it's like an iceberg. What you see of it on the surface is just the tip, and there's much more below the surface that you really have to dive deep to experience and understand. I wouldn't call chaos magic a tradition in the same way that things like Thelema and the Golden Dawn are traditions. It's more of a philosophy. It's a stripped-down utilitarian approach to magic. Chaos magicians tend to see everything as a tool that they use in their magic. This includes other systems, other traditions. They might incorporate Thelema or even Wicca.
Next, let's go through the types of witches. So, a kitchen witch. So this is a name for a kitchen witch or a hearth witch or a homemaker witch. Basically, they put their time and energy into daily chores, cooking in their lives. So if you have somebody living in a house and they want to use their craft to take care of their house to improve their cooking and stuff like that, that's what's known as a kitchen witch.
And the hearth of the home was very important. That was the core of your home. It had the fire. You cooked your food. You did your laundry all by the fire. So the hearth was the very, very, very important part of the home. And a lot of times when witches are called heathens, they literally sat on the heath, which is the hearth of the home. And so kitchen witches are your most classic witch. You have cooking, which imbued a lot of magic into it. With this tea I mix, my cold I shall fix. That right there is a very low magic kitchen witch incantation.
Cool. Yeah. A green witch. It's a witch that focuses their time and energy on empowering the powers of nature, be it animals or be it minerals or be it plants, anything they can incorporate into nature, whether it's communing with it or shaping it or growing it themselves. They want to be near nature and interact with nature as part of their craft.
You mean like a green witch may have over 100 houseplants and 7 cats and a huge yard.
Sounds like
with
someone I know.
Lots of garden and have worked in a national park for 4 summers.
And have a favorite mineral rock.
and
feldspar.
And
feldspar.
Yeah.
Orange calcite. Honey calcite, sorry.
Yeah, honey calcite. Orange calcite's a close second, but you're or what else may a green witch do? I don't know.
She is one, so
or
whatever it is you do.
Have the name sprouting fireweed. Or sprout.
And by no means are kitchen witch and green witch the only types of witch. I identify as an eclectic witch because I follow, whatever applies to me. I have bits of green witch, I have bits of kitchen witch, I have bits of Egyptian witch, indigenous, shamanism. It's a point of appreciation versus appropriation. I appreciate, I learn and appreciate the practices in the right context. I'm not just going out there being like, oh, this is cool. I'm just gonna, smudge. I understand what it does, what the symbolism is and everything.
Yeah. Black versus white witch. So there's kind of two definitions I ran into. So one is the classical version of the black witch. So like what you would classically associate with evil witches. So hexes, curses, charms or spells made to hinder, annoy, harm, or manipulate another. The other definition of black witch is any kind of witchcraft done with bad intentions. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter if it's done with bad intentions, it's black witch-esque.
But isn't black magic versus white magic, like white magic is like more of an absolute, and black magic is more like, I forget.
There are so many definitions you can find for black versus white magic or black versus white witches. It's something. One thing all witches agree on is that we don't agree on everything.
Okay.
So you're going to find all sorts of definitions. There are people who loathe black magic because they associate it with bad hexes, curses. Black magic is essentially, from my perspective, is having control over someone without asking their permission. And even sometimes with their permission can be classified as black magic because you're doing something to control someone, to control an aspect of their life. So I could do black magic on myself, say motivation, a motivational spell. That would be black magic because I'm doing something that I wouldn't typically do.
Okay.
Whereas white magic, again, this is all my perspective. This isn't speaking for every witch. White magic is more healing, taking care of, an illness, a lot more of the light stuff. And then you definitely have 50 shades of gray in between.
Right.
And then you take my side of the things where white magic or light magic is generally things that fit within the rules that you were sort of raised with. So the Wiccan read in plain English,
absolutely.
Essentially being don't harm people and you're fine.
Do what you will and it harm none.
But if you go against that, then you are going into that dark territory because you're saying, I know I don't harm people, but I'm going to anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, we have two completely understandings of black versus white magic, and it's just one of those things witches will never agree on, but people will still try to please it.
Right.
Dipping back exactly 100 years ago, in the last weeks of January in 1920, the song that was being sung as a hit was I've Got My Captain Working For Me Now by Al Jolson. Enjoy and see you in the after show.
Johnny Jones was a first-class private in the Army last year. Now he's back to business in his father's place. Sunday night I saw him with a smiling face. When I asked him why he felt so happy, Johnny chuckled with glee. He winked his eye and made this reply, something wonderful has happened to me. I've got the guy who used to be my captain working for me. He wanted work, so I made him a clerk in my father's factory. And by, I'm going to have him wrapped in work up to his brow. I make him open the office every morning at 8 Then I come around about 4 hours late. Everything comes to those who wait. I've got my captain working for me now. He's not worth what I have to pay him, but I'll never complain. I've agreed to give him $50 per. It's worth twice as much to hear him call me sir. While I sit in my cozy little office, he's outside working hard. Out in the hall, at my beck and call, with a feather duster standing on guard. I've got the guy who used to be my captain, working for me. He wanted work, so I made him a clerk in my father's factory. And by, I'm gonna have him wrapped in work up to his brow. When I come into the office, he gets up on his feet, stands at attention and gives me his seat. Who was it dead? Revenge is sweet. I've got my captain working for me now.
So for the after show this week, I thought we'd take a look back on honestly one of the hardest episodes to research, record, and listen to. When I originally started researching for it, I thought that there was no way we'd have enough to have a complete episode, but it turned into something that we weren't expecting. Just a heartbreaking story of a mother and a father abusing their kids for YouTube money. Feel free to listen to that episode if you want the full story, but here's the continuation of that.
The videos caused a firestorm.
Cody! Help me! I didn't do that!
Parents pulling pranks on their kids, screaming at them, causing them to cry hysterically. And the videos racked up millions of views. But the youngest two are Heather Martin's stepchildren. Now their biological mom has come forward, releasing her own video with her lawyer, announcing that Michael and Heather Martin have lost custody, and the children are now in her care.
Emma and Cody are with me. I have emergency custody.
The mother's attorney says police and the court were instrumental in reuniting Hall with her children.
1, 2, 3.
The videos posted by the Martins on the popular Daddy of Five YouTube channel sparked a backlash. Many called the couple abusive. But last Friday, the Martins told us some of the videos were staged.
Some stuff is real. Some stuff was acted out, scripted.
Mike says deep down, he just thought becoming a celebrity would make his kids proud.
And when my kids looked at me, I was their hero.
So when we last left off, the Martins, who are the parents in this scenario, had the two kids that were being abused the most. The stepchildren were removed from the household and brought back to their biological mother. Now you think after international attention was paid attention to them and the abuse of their children that they would maybe back off or try and hide it. But no, they continued on pretty much doing the same thing. Now, they're a little more cautious, had their 3 remaining children, quote-unquote, sign up for a YouTube channel run by them, owned by their grandmother. So that's their way of weaseling around the YouTube terms of service, because the YouTube terms of service say that if you get permabanned once, you can't just make another account. That's not along with their rules. But they got around that by saying, hey, it's not us making the channel, it's the kid's grandmother that is making the channel. Now, they had a court order to not upload videos of their children to YouTube for 5 years, but they just kept on doing it. They just kept on going on. And they were kicked off YouTube in some part, with the Martin boys still having their channel, and they moved it to Twitch. But then soon enough, Twitch got wind of this, and they were also kicked off Twitch, which is a streaming platform where you can see people live. They then moved to their own paid subscription model where you can pay $5 a month to observe them. And as a cherry on top of this story, their legal case was reviewed recently by a judge, and their probation was reduced. Despite them on numerous occasions violating the terms of their probation, the judge decided that they should have their sentences reduced. I don't know how you violate probation multiple times and have your sentence reduced afterwards. Seems like it's rewarding bad behavior, especially when you have children involved and the abuse of children involved. You think the judge would have been a bit more cautious on reducing the sentence of people who violated their probation like that, but hey, we don't live in a fair world. So that's the update on Daddy of 5. I wish these fuckers were in a jail cell, but with the judgment of the judge and with the reduced sentence and with the way their legality is sitting surrounding this case, they will be able to expunge their record in 3 years. So by 2023, they could expunge their record and nobody would ever legally know, at least if they look into their legal charges and stuff like that, about their child abuse. Their child abuse that went on for months and garnered millions of dollars, supported by YouTube. Yeah, feel free to listen to that episode. If you want to rage, if you want to do some, anger crying, that's a good episode to do that for. The Daddy of 5 and Mummy of 5 episode, because turns out this story's ending just keeps on getting sadder, especially for the 3 remaining children in the house. So, that's the after show for this episode. I've been Ood Gallifrey. Have a wonderful night, and make sure to give your pets an extra snuggle tonight, because much like people, pets can leave your life unexpectedly without your control. So we gotta love them while we can. Have a wonderful evening.